Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Avengers Endgame yet?
I have not. If a spoiler does slip,
there will not be no spoilers.
Well, no, none.
Okay. You mean like on social media or whatever?
Well, no. For the listeners right now, we'd you'd obviously edit out the spoiler, but if one does happen to slip here live recording,
gotcha.
I'm not gonna hold it. I'm not gonna be mad at you.
Okay. Well, there is this one part where, and then, but then they all. I thought Endgame was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I will give no spoilers whatsoever, just that it was amazing.
Spoilers, you just let everybody know how amazing it is.
All of my expectations, it blew them all away.
Like, people don't go to watch movies to see what the plot is. They go to watch movies to see whether it's good or bad.
To see whether Gabe thinks it's good or bad.
Just to see whether they can trash talk it on the internet or
I
not.
guess.
Like, that's the goal of consuming media, is so that you can go online and say how much you hate it.
Yeah. It's really good. I don't know how soon I'm going to watch it again because it's so long. It's over 3 hours.
There's been a few movies where I went and saw them in the theater a couple more times just because one, I didn't have anything to do at the time.
Right.
And then two, it was like, that's a pretty good movie. I'll sit through it again.
When Jurassic Park first came out,
mm-hmm.
I saw that movie in the theater probably 8 or 9 times.
Oh, dang.
And I was in second grade at the time. So, all right. You want to go ahead and jump into this episode?
Sure.
Okay. I want you to imagine that your buddy Draco, you're shooting some hoops.
Shooting some hoops with Drakes.
It's real easy for him because he's about 3 times as tall as you. He can just reach over and reach down to dunk the ball.
Yeah, I'm coming in with the assist, you know.
There you go.
I'll set up a nice dunk for him.
There you go. And so you guys you beat the other team. The other team, they're those guys that you hate over in that other neighborhood or whatever. And afterwards, Drake, he holds out his hand. He says, "Hey man, give me 5." And so you slap his hand. You give him 5. And then he says,
I jump up to go down low.
he says up high, and you grab a nearby ladder. You go up on the ladder. You jump off the ladder and you high five. And then he says down low. And then you think it's going to be one of those things where he pulls his hand away and he says too slow. But no, you give him 5 down low. And then he says over at the side, and he holds his hand over the side. So you can give him 5. He says at school, and then he goes over to the other side. And then
he says, much more to this I thought there would be.
And then he puts his hand in this position that this is a new high five position that
no one's ever seen
before.
And if we described it here in words, your minds would explode.
Sure. He puts his hand in a pile of gold. And you go and you give him 5, and then you ask him, "Hey, what's that move called?" And he says, "You know what that move's called, Jeff?
What's that
move is called In the Dragon's Horde." Yeah.
That is a high five move that requires a pile of gold, so
yes.
it's very hard to pull off.
Exactly. Today's Dragon's Horde item was submitted by Tim D via email, and this is the Hand of the Gods. Now, Tim D submitted he actually, in the same email a while ago, he submitted 3 items. We've already covered the other 2, the First Watch and the Eye of the Past.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we did both of those, and this is the third one of those, the Hand of the Gods. Yeah. Now, this one has not very much in the way of mechanics, and there's probably a lot that's open interpretation, so I figured we could get some discussion out of this. The Hand of the Gods is a ring. It requires attunement by any magic user. He has it listed as rare, but maybe we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
The Hand of the Gods grants power to those deemed worthy. This ring allows the level of a cast spell to be raised to a higher level without raising the spell slot used to cast. Now, that's all the text.
Yeah.
There's no more text. As written, if I were writing this, I would probably want to clarify exactly what some of that means.
Yeah.
However, being that it is left ambiguous, I think that we can interpret that however we want.
Sure.
As written, it doesn't really seem to say like how many times you can use it,
right?
Or how high up you can raise a spell,
right? Or like what's like the maximum spell
Yeah.
you can affect.
So I'm gonna say there isn't a limit. Let's say this is something, any spell you can be cast to the maximum level, the level that allows for the maximum benefit. So let's say you're casting a fireball, you can cast that fireball at 9th level and get an extra 6d6, right? Because it's
I don't know,
8d6, and then I think it's an additional d6 each level. So like 14 or 15 d6 fireball every time you cast a fireball.
Or at the cost of
just a third level spell or something.
Level slot. Yeah.
If that were the case, artifact,
for sure.
and then some. That's a hefty thing.
Artifact plus,
exactly. Because didn't they do colossal plus in the epical handbook?
I feel like that was a thing. Yeah.
Then eventually they got rid of colossal altogether. It's just gargantuan. So let's maybe find some other interpretations for how this could work.
Yeah.
Imagine if there are many hands of the gods. Each one allows a specific spell to be cast. And I mean, maybe there are even like different, like let's say there's fireball hand of the gods, or hand of the gods in parentheses fireball.
Yeah.
And there's one that is hand of the gods in parentheses fireball +1, and it lets you cast every fireball you cast as a 4th level spell instead of a 3rd level spell.
Yeah.
Or there's one that is in parentheses fireball +6, and then it is a 9th level spell every time you cast it.
Sure.
That's one way to do it. Or even it could just be that these are still maybe artifacts or at least legendary items that anytime you cast that one specific spell, it is the maximum level.
Sure.
Yeah.
Could be, like a one-use item, like the gemonic cracks or something.
I didn't even think of that. That would be great.
More like a consumable thing. Like it's a very powerful, like, you can just augment that fireball that one time and, blow out the whole room. And then, like the ring itself breaks. And so now you just got a kind of a dead ring.
Yeah, I would be down with that. I think we've talked in the past about, having... Because I never use consumables. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But we've talked about having items that have an expiration date.
Yeah.
So like if there were a ring that, it only works for a week or something. But during that week, every fireball is cast at the max level.
Sure.
Or something.
Yeah. Cut to like a newspaper where it's just like it's a picture of like a town on fire.
Yeah.
It's like, I had to use it. Like I had to.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of interpretation with this item. I think that it probably could use a little bit more explanation as to how it works.
Yeah.
But I think leaving it up to a DM who puts it into their game is not a bad idea, because then they can tailor it to be exactly what they want for their party. Yeah. And because it's called Hand of the Gods, even though it is a ring, I, in my mind, picture it as one of those like...
Oh, yeah.
One of those rings that is actually like a thing that covers like your whole hand.
Sure, yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like, it's a ring, and then it's kind of got like a, almost like part of like a sleeve attached to it.
Kind of, yeah. Another end game thing, and there's, again, no spoilers whatsoever, but at the premiere, Brie Larson showed up. She was wearing a like lavender gown, and she had on her hand, I think it was her right hand, she had a golden ring thing like that had on each of her fingers was a ring of a different color.
Oh, sure.
So basically she was dressed in Thanos' skin color.
Oh, no.
And was wearing a jewelry infinity gauntlet. So anyway,
pretty good.
I'll try to find a picture of that and put in the show notes.
She was like, oh man, does Captain Marvel like gain the Infinity Gauntlet and become the new Thanos?
I don't know, Jeff. You'll have to go see the movie and find out. Very good movie. Go see this movie. It's so good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I've definitely been hearing good things. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard for today. So once again, that was the Hand of the Gods from Tim D via email. Thank you very much, Tim. If anybody wanted to submit items for the Dragon's Hoard, or questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, Jeff, how would they do so?
They can send us an email at InterPartyConflict@gmail.com.
That's correct. And before we go any further, we have a giveaway today.
Oh, we do.
We are giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, courtesy of Goblinstone. Chapel on the Cliffs is a great low-level D&D 5th edition adventure for, I think it's like 2nd through 6th level PCs.
That sounds right.
Something like that. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So Jeff, who is our winner today?
Our winner today is Doug A.
Winner.
Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Yes, congratulations, Doug A. You should be getting that in your email within the next couple days.
Mm-hmm.
We had somebody a couple weeks ago that won that they, as of this recording, they still haven't gotten it. So they Goblin Stone might be a little bit backed up. So be patient. But if you don't get it within a week or so, let us know.
Yep.
I'll try to get that sorted out for you.
Congrats again, Doug A, who is one class better than Doug B. So good on you.
There you go. And then if anybody wanted to enter this drawing, Jeff, how would they do so?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com, but you want to put Chapel on the Cliffs in the subject line.
Correct. And for anybody who has won this, I do recommend that you go and leave Goblin Stone a review. Let them know what you like or you don't like so they can continue to make great products.
Yeah. Let them know if it's not spooky enough or too spooky.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. And then I also want to tell everybody to go check out our Patreon, because this episode is brought to you by our wonderful patrons. If you go to patreon.com/InterPartyConflict, you can see what we've got on there. We have a few different tiers that people can donate to in order to get some cool stuff and help out the show. On the lowest tier, we've got fantasy fiction that I write every month. We've got outtakes. Higher up, we've got, I have a little every month or so, I do a little update where I give the status of the show, how editing has been going, what sort of media I've been consuming. We also have a monthly bonus podcast called InterPatronConflict that should be going out sometime around the day that this goes out.
Sure.
Because we haven't recorded it yet.
Yeah.
But anyway. And then on the highest tier, we have a monthly Roll20 game. We have, I will write about your character for my fantasy fiction. And we did just get a top tier patron the other day. So I will be writing a story about their character pretty soon.
Cool.
So yeah, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. You can help us out, keep the lights on and everything, and get some cool stuff in return. And then I want to direct everybody to the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. I always forget to mention at the beginning of our show the guests that we had on the previous week. We had on the wonderful gentlemen from Crit Academy last week, Justin, Ian, and Brandon. On their show, they make new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. So go check them out. They also have been making some products they've been putting out on DM's Guild. Mm-hmm. They have a barbarian path that came out very recently that has been getting great reviews.
Sure.
They have a sorcerer path. They're in the process of writing a bard college, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then I also helped them write their Unearthed Tips and Tricks book that went out in November, I think. So go check that out. Just go to critacademy.com. They've got all that right on the front page. Also check out the other podcasts, D&D Character Lab. Garen and Dan make characters and pit them against each other to debate whose is better. And Brute Force and Ignorance is a great actual play on the network as well. So check out those guys. Check out all those podcasts. Go have some fun and then come back and listen to us. I don't know where I was going with that sentence. Jeff, let's get on with this episode.
Well, I was want to say the fellowship is pretty nice because we got advice from us, content from the Crit Academy guys.
Yeah.
You got good character concepts and little fun gags over there at the Character Lab, and then you got your real play. You
got your actual gameplay. Yeah.
So I mean, we got everything. We got everything.
We're the best. Yeah. So huge thank you to Justin, Ian, and Brandon for being on our show last week.
Yep.
Had a great time having them on, and hopefully we'll have them on again in the future.
Cool. Alrighty.
All right.
So our first question comes from Jason. This was on Discord. What is your favorite monster type? So type in as in like aberration or undead and such. Other than dragons.
Of course. Dragons are probably going to be everybody's favorite.
Well, I mean, dragons are iconic, but that doesn't it's like, what's your favorite Harry Potter character? Like, you're not going to say Harry Potter. Like,
obviously the answer is Hagrid. Obviously.
Well, Hagrid is pretty great. I almost started just going into Harry Potter stuff. Like, it's just like,
Thank you.
Screw the D&D stuff. Whatever.
And then this is specifically asking as a player and then as a DM. So what's your favorite maybe to fight against? And then what's your favorite to run?
I think I want to say probably to run, it would probably be aberrations just because they're so alien and weird that you could do some really crazy stuff with them.
One thing I want to mention, I think in 5th edition, I don't think they're called aberrations anymore.
Oh, right.
We've been calling them aberrations for a long time.
Are they just part of monstrosities now? No, I think that's separate. I think that's separate because there used to be wasn't it there was animals and then there was beasts, or am I thinking wrong?
Originally, yeah, beasts was its own type back in like 3rd edition, and it was basically like there's beasts and then magical beasts.
Yeah, beasts and magical beasts. So I think beast did include animals, maybe. No, I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, but yeah, I do remember 3rd edition had quite a few more monster types. In fact, one of the books that Steve gave me, it's a monster crossbreeding book by Mongoose Publishing.
Oh yeah.
And like they go into like there's like a chart that like if you're combining these two types, what type is it afterwards?
Okay.
So like if you're combining an aberration with anything, it's gonna turn out an aberration in most cases, except for like the only thing that overwrites that is like undead, I think.
Oh, okay.
Like if it's undead, it's undead.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of been the case. Like if you're adding like templates and stuff like that, it's always like if undead sort of is at the top of the like type hierarchy because it's like, who cares if it's a dragon? It's an undead dragon. It's not a dragon who is also undead. It is an undead dragon.
And I just checked in. Aberrations are still a thing. I think I was mistaken. It's magical beasts that became monstrosities.
Yeah.
So sorry, I had a quick mistake in my mind there.
Right, because monstrosity is basically anything that is like, it is like physically natural-ish. Mm-hmm. But it might have some like magical abilities or something extra to it. So like a Tarrasque is a monstrosity.
Yeah.
And like the Tarrasque doesn't have any, like, at least in 5th edition, doesn't have anything like too, like, other than the fact that it is a giant monster.
Right.
There's nothing crazy special about it. But it's still, you still wouldn't put that in the same, group as like a wolf,
Yeah.
But I do like monstrosities because I do just kind of like that they're, like I like the Monster Hunter games, so they kind of fit into that. Anytime that I've seen people trying to make some of the monsters from Monster Hunter into D&D monsters, they usually put them in the monstrosity.
Yeah. There is actually a book of those. I'm blanking on the title. There's something on DM's Guild where somebody took all of the Monster Hunter monsters and put them in D&D.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and they actually put all their abilities and stuff in there. Because I've seen a couple a few pictures of the pages from that book. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that's where I'm seeing them from.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to say aberration just because I like mind flayers and I like aboleths and I like beholders. They're really weird and cool and scary. Mm-hmm.
I also really like aberrations. I'm trying to think of from a play, because these are all as a DM perspective. Like I love aberrations because like you said, like I love beholders, I love mind flayers, I love aboleths, I love their like backstories, I love the societies and such that they may or may not have.
Right.
As a DM, I think that's the sort of thing that I would probably pick. As a player, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to think of stuff and not bring the DM stuff into the equation.
Right, that's true.
I really like constructs. I've always been a fan of like golems and such.
Yeah, golems are cool.
Maybe that's what I would say as a player. I know that when we did in Jay's Eberron campaign, Jay actually, who asked this question.
Sure.
When we were in his Eberron campaign, I played an artificer, and Jay let me eventually make my own, like, there's a construct called a nimblewright that was in the 3rd edition Monster Manual 2.
Yeah. That
they're kind of like intelligent golems, sort of, but like their main thing was they were really good at blending in. They had spells that could like change their appearance. Mm-hmm. And then they had these built-in rapiers that were built into their arms that every time they hit someone, they would knock them prone and like slide them back 10 feet. And it was just so cool. And Jay let me make one of those as an artificer, so I had like a sidekick.
Sure.
But because my character had a gun in that campaign, I replaced his rapiers with guns. And instead of it being that he was just like stabbing them so hard that they fell over, it was that he had like revolvers, and he would do like a trick shot. Yeah. So he would like shoot the ground under them, and they would slip and fall or whatever.
It's pretty good.
So
Nimblewrights, so they're the ones I think the picture of them, they kind of have like the feathered cap and like a cloak or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, of course I like dragons. I think dragons are really cool.
Yeah.
But as a DM, probably aberrations are probably my favorite. I love. There's the book Lords of Madness. The book Lords of Madness was like such a good book. It was all about aberrations.
Yeah.
I read that thing cover to cover. That thing was great. So as a DM, probably that. But then constructs are really cool too. And I think probably as a player, I like the idea of constructs, but I probably like fighting humanoids because they're the easiest to understand.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I think maybe as a player, either giants or the monstrosity group, just because like there's a nice variety. Mm-hmm. So like you can come across like with giants that includes trolls.
True.
And there's a bunch of different types of trolls. There's a bunch of different types of giants, but there's especially when you go outside of like the core books, like there are so many different types of trolls because trolls are such an iconic monster.
Yeah.
And like they're just so weird in their own way. There's there's that one troll that like its regeneration is too high, so it starts growing extra body parts or something like that.
Shoot, yeah.
So like,
that thing's horrifying.
Exactly. Like you can get weird with the troll. If you think about like how a troll works, it's like, all right, like, it has really crazy regeneration.
Yeah.
And like you have to know to bring fire or acid along, and like there are different types of trolls that sometimes that doesn't work.
Yeah,
there's like the war troll where it's only acid that works against it, so fire doesn't work. Or something.
There's one that's like it's like a witch doctor troll or something that like can only be taken down with like psychic damage or something. Maybe I'm mixing a couple things,
right.
But yeah, I always like when there is a neat twist on the troll.
Yeah,
because
like,
they're so iconic.
Exactly, because everybody knows, like, oh, all right, I have alchemist fire. It's
exactly.
Like, really, you didn't say you did. Well, I do now. Like, for this exact moment, I always carry like every character I make has alchemist fire or acid on them because maybe we'll find a troll.
Yeah,
I
always have those, but I always try to explain it as well. I might need to like etch something into some metal or whatever. I don't know.
Use it, yeah, like using the alchemist fire as ink.
Oh yeah,
like that'd be kind of neat because you're like burning it into the you're etching it into something or something.
I was thinking with acid, but no, that
sure
that's real cool. Like when Batman made the big bat symbol for some reason and then lit it on fire.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I like lots of different monster types, but I think to answer the question, probably as a DM, aberrations. Aberrations and dragons, of course, probably my favorites, and then constructs as a player.
What would be your least favorite?
Oh, oozes probably.
I kind of like oozes.
You do?
They're kind of like there's a bunch of different types. When there's like a nice variety of stuff, and they do different things.
Yeah,
it's kind of neat.
I take that back. There's one that I like less than oozes, and that is plants. Yes, there are some plants that are mobile, but most of them aren't.
Yeah, I agree, not because I don't like the idea of the plant type. I think it's good.
Yeah.
They're just not, there really is.
They're just not interesting.
There's just not that many. There's a few of them.
A few.
In Volos, I think they added a couple in there that were pretty interesting. Like there's one that's just like it's just like this giant mound, or it's like this giant fungal monster or something like that. And like it consumes corpses and then like spits them out as like they're not quite zombies, they become plants. So they become like fungal zombies. I like mushroom creatures and stuff like that. There are like there's the mycoids or something like myconids. Yeah. Like those guys are pretty cool. Like
I don't. Those are specifically what I'm thinking of when I say I don't like plants.
You don't like them?
Go on.
I think they're kind of cool. Like they have some weird. There's some weird stuff to them that I'm like There's that book that we talked about I think last episode where it was the monster manual.
But it's like additional features for them or something.
Oh, it's where you can play as any of the monsters.
Oh yeah.
And so like the
Monstrous Races by Tyler Kamstra.
Right. Yeah. So I was like, I want to be one of the mushroom guys. That sounds awesome. And then like I kind of looked at it, I'm like, it wouldn't be so great.
Yeah.
Because they have like they can't speak. They can only talk through their spores, which you have to be with it. Like they can communicate telepathically.
To anyone that has their spores.
To anyone within their cloud of spores.
Okay.
So like if you step out of their cloud, you can't hear them.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And then they're also like incredibly sensitive to light.
Sure.
Like they're like whatever the whatever the highest sensitivity to light is like if they're in daylight, they take damage or something ridiculous.
Goodness.
It's like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Also from that same book, though, probably the one exception to me not liking plants is on D&D Character Lab. They had an episode about that book, and one of them made a shambling mound paladin.
Oh, right.
And that's such a great concept.
Yeah. Yep. Still got to go and make my Otiug wizard who eats old books.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Our next question comes from Happy Gilmore through email.
Mm-hmm.
Small races like gnomes are unable to use longbows and heavy crossbows without penalty. This is a distinct disadvantage. Do their racial features balance out this disadvantage, and would it unbalance the game to allow them to use those weapons?
Yeah. So this is a heavy rules-based question here.
Sure.
And I think this is definitely an interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah, I think so.
So any race that is small, such as gnomes or halflings, they being small size category, any weapon that is heavy has to be a two-handed weapon for them.
Right.
And I think if a weapon is already a two-handed weapon, they have disadvantage anytime they use it. If I'm remembering the rules correctly.
I think that sounds right.
So a longbow or a heavy crossbow, they physically can hold them, but the only way that they can use them is with disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And like Happy Gilmore was saying, that means that these races have less combat options than other races.
Sure.
Do. So the question is that a balance thing, or is that just like a holdover from older editions when maybe size category played a bigger part? In 3.5, they made a change in how the size categories worked, and that you could use any weapon as long as it was sized for you. So like,
there were weapon sizes.
Yeah, you could use a human-sized longsword in the previous edition would have been a great sword for a halfling.
Right.
Whereas in 3.5, they made it so that now you can use a great sword, but it has to be a halfling-sized great sword, which has the same stats as a longsword, but is not a longsword. If you find a medium-sized longsword, a halfling would take a penalty to use it because it is not a halfling-sized greatsword. It was real confusing.
Yeah.
At the time, it made sense, but
now you're thinking back on it. Yeah.
Thinking back on it was not a great move.
Although it was really cool because then, the Goliath with its powerful build, which is much better, which was much better than powerful build is now.
Yeah.
Which I understand.
Right.
You could have a large-sized weapon, so like a two-handed weapon, but then it's large size category, so it's doing like instead of a 1d10 it's like 3d4 or something ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and say that just as a strict answer to the question, I don't think that this is a balance issue, because the difference between using a longbow or a short bow for a halfling, like halfling can use a short bow with no penalty,
right?
The difference is like 1 point of damage on average.
Sure. Well, another difference would be the range. I mean, the longbow range is substantial.
I guess.
I always forget how far it actually can shoot, but
yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
But do you think that the developers were like, if we let this halfling shoot the longbow range, that's worse than if we let a human shoot the longbow range? I don't know. I think it's a holdover personally.
Sure.
I think it's maybe like a sacred cow type thing where they feel like they have to put it in there or people will complain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a balance issue, because I think that all the player's handbook races are meant to be around the same. They are really all around the same power level. I don't think that there is anything about the halfling that is like, oh man, that would be too powerful if they dealt 1 more point of damage with a longbow.
Sure.
Because they can use most of the weapons, they can use exactly as effectively as a human.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a few weapons, the only difference of which is they deal about 1, maybe 1.5 more damage per per attack on average. I just don't think that there is anything that specifically targets that as being a balancing factor.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some things about halflings that are really good.
Right.
Halflings are a very good race. And
I used to stay away from small sized races all the time. Like I was just like, I don't even bother. Why take the penalty or whatever? Like
sure.
I just like because like in earlier editions there were certain things that did sort of balance it out. Like third edition or whatever, you get like a +1 to your AC. And that sort of thing.
You don't get those anymore.
But like I just didn't see that as interesting enough to go the small race route. But now like I freaking love halflings in 5th edition. Like you can cancel out a natural one once per round, I think.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it's basically anytime you make a roll, if it is a natural one, you can re-roll it.
Yeah.
You can re-roll it once.
Yeah, you can re-roll it once, which is like that's amazing.
That's real good.
That's really cool.
Now, but that's specific to halflings. Gnomes have the same penalty.
You're right.
The same inability to use longbows or heavy crossbows without penalty, but they don't have that ability. So if it was meant for balance, I don't think there is nothing that applies to both of these two races.
Sure.
That I think is meant to be a balancing factor for anything. You know what I mean? The two races are so different. I really don't think that this was a balancing factor. I think that it was just, we had this, they had this penalty in previous editions, so let's stick with it. Let's just maybe urge those players to use one of the many weapons that don't give a penalty.
Right.
Yeah,
because it's... Yeah, I think you're right. It doesn't really set them back much.
No. It's
just flavor in that in a way.
Pretty much. It just means like certain character builds, they have to do a little bit differently.
Right. It's like if you're a halfling, you're going to be playing to the halfling's strength as best as you can, unless you want to purposely, give yourself a disadvantage for like character flavor, which is fine. Go for it. It's like, maybe you do play a halfling who just really wants to use the longbow. Like,
sure.
Like he had an elf friend that, died. And so he picked up his bow and, is carrying on the legacy or something like that. And it's like, no, I'm going to keep using this bow. And like, this is my friend's bow. And then, at some point, maybe the DM can like, let him use it without the penalty or something like that. Use it enough times, or like giving him inspiration enough times to cancel out
sure
the disadvantage. It's like, it's very inspiring the way that you're using that longbow at disadvantage. Have advantage, which then turns into regular.
Sure. If I was running a game and the player wanted to do that, was willing to take that penalty for story reasons, like you're saying, I would have it. After a couple sessions, they don't have to have that penalty anymore. They have learned to use it effectively or whatever. Maybe describe it as like every time they use this thing, they have to like put their whole body into it or something. Or like they can't pull it back with one arm. They have to pull back with both arms while hooking it onto their feet or something, something like that. But I would still let them do it without penalty after they've shown that they're willing to do this, because I just don't think that I think that makes for a more interesting game.
Sure.
Letting them have a penalty and then overcome that penalty than to just say, sorry, don't do that with your character. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it's just discouraging small races from using these weapons. And I don't really think there's adequate reason to discourage that.
Yeah. Or it's like, a gnome or something like rushing into battle with a great axe, but they're like dragging it behind them.
I like the image of that.
Yeah, it's just like, go for it, guy. Do it.
Yeah.
This
definitely makes me think of the Age of Worms campaign. Our good friend Shadowhand Silverbones, his character, he was a gnome, and he came to me before we started the campaign, and he asked me, hey, so there's this powerful build thing. Powerful build. Like you were saying, it's something that Goliaths had, that they still have it in 5th edition, but they've weakened it considerably.
Yeah, it's only carry capacity at this point.
Yeah. It used to be that it let you use weapons as well as other stuff. Let you use weapons as if you were one size category bigger.
Yeah.
It in and of itself wasn't a game breaker. However, the only races that had it had a level adjustment. So they counted as a higher level character.
Sure, yeah.
And I think that that's because, like I was saying, all of the Player's Handbook races are kind of meant to be roughly equal in power. And for a character to have, because it was a significant jump in power from a medium-sized greatsword or whatever to a large-sized greatsword.
Yeah.
So to give that boost was significant enough that they didn't want anybody in the player's handbook to be able to do that. So Shadowhand Silverbones wanted to make a character that was a small character, but he wielded an axe that was the size for a medium character. The way I saw it, that doesn't make him any more powerful than a human.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was a gnome, but even a gnome dealing damage like a human, in my opinion, because he was still taking the strength penalty that gnomes got. Gnomes got a -2 to strength.
Oh, sure.
He was still taking that. So I didn't see any problem with letting him have a weapon that was sized for a human, because again, I didn't think it was going to make him any more powerful than a human.
Yeah.
Little did I know, he eventually became far more powerful than a human, but that was largely due to his spellcasting, his cleric spellcasting.
Yeah, his cunning use of all the spells.
Exactly. So in that case, I think this is a very similar thing. I don't think that the penalty to damage or whatever, or the disadvantage to attack with certain weapons, I really don't think it's a balancing factor, because it's such a small factor in either direction. It would need some serious convincing of me to believe that that was the intent.
Yeah.
That's a real weird way to go about it if that's their intent.
Yeah, because I think with powerful build in the earlier edition, it was like you got you counted as a size category higher for all the positive stuff,
pretty much,
without the negative. So you got a extra +1 to your attack,
without
taking the -1 to your AC from being a size category more or whatever it was. So like, and then like your grapple check was +4 more, going back to grapple again.
Yeah. Never
so
again.
Like, yeah, just giving them access to the next level, like the next size level of weapons, like going, in 3.5, going from medium to large could be a big jump, especially when you look into some of the like exotic weapons. They were like, because I had a character with that, like, Jay let me have powerful build, and I gave it it was an exotic weapon. It was the Goliath Warhammer, which was like, ended up being like a 3d6 × 3 critical or something like that. Or it might have even been a ×4. It was ridiculous. Whatever it was,
really high.
It was stupid powerful for just a, for a weapon. And on top of that, I was, you get the extra, attack bonus and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't really think there's much else to say about it. I don't think that the racial features balance it out. I think it's that it's just a holdover. If I can give some advice to anyone who has a player that wants to do this, let them do it for a little while and then get rid of the penalty. Because I don't think it's going to break anything. I think it's,
Yeah, either let them give up on it, or reward them for not giving up on it.
Sure.
Our next question comes from Craig H. through email, and they ask, how do you create your own monsters while keeping them balanced and fun?
Yeah, creating monsters is difficult.
Yep.
I very rarely do it. There are rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide for, like thresholds for a monster of this CR should deal this much damage, and so on and so on. If you're going to, my personal advice is, if you're going to make a monster, the best thing to do is take an existing monster and then reflavor them and or change around the mechanics while trying to keep them as balanced with the previous monster as possible.
Sure. Yep.
Because making something whole cloth is, like I said, it's a lot of work, and there's going to be a lot of little fiddly bits. Like if you're trying to give them a unique ability, you can follow the guidelines till the cows come home, but there's always going to be like that one time that it ends up, something happens that ends up, you didn't take it into account, and then it goes off the rails. Yeah. So I think that as long as you start with something that already exists and then make small changes to it, especially with reflavoring, you can usually make a lot of what you are going for with minimal guilt as far as the rules are concerned. Like if you make up a new ability and you make up the mechanics for it, and then something goes wrong, well, you probably know where the mistake lies.
Sure.
It's the, you doing the mechanics. But if it's an ability that already exists, that is already balanced for us, challenge rating of 5 or whatever, then if you're just applying a new skin to it that makes it sound fresh, sound cool, then there's no guilt on your side because, hey, the developers of the game said it was balanced for a CR5. So
sure,
it must have just been the dice or whatever.
Yeah. Because I always think back to there was an encounter that you had us go through where the stat block was ochre jelly.
Yes.
Yeah, it was an ochre jelly in which, like, when you deal enough damage to it, it splits into 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, like, we were fighting what was basically like it wasn't an ochre jelly, but you were using the stance of an ochre jelly.
In the adventure, it's supposed to be that there is a pillar that comes to life and attacks, and there is also, and then after a couple rounds, like an ogre comes out and attacks you too.
Yeah.
I just had it be an ochre jelly that once the players did enough damage to it, it quote unquote split off, and the ogre came into the room, and that was the other half of the ochre jelly.
Right. So the ochre jelly was the right CR for the encounter.
Exactly.
And then you just flavored it as like, okay, starts off as the statue, and then the ogre comes in, and that's like mechanically the same as if the ochre jelly split in half.
Yeah.
Ogre jelly. Anyway,
good job, Jeff.
We must have made that joke.
Somebody had to. Yeah.
And is that the ogre that is actually an Otyugh?
Yes, because this is in Shackle City.
Yeah.
So yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what his name is, and I can't remember it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
But I think that character, that monster, because like from the first time we played,
we tried playing this a few times.
That character that's why I like Otyughs for some reason, just because like I don't think we killed him the first time we ever encountered that guy.
I don't think so, because Jay was running, and I think we befriended him or something.
Yeah, I think so. So like there's just a special place in my heart for like Otyughs that are out of their element.
Kind of going back to the previous question, or 2 questions ago about favorite monsters, Otyughs are aberrations. And I really like Otyughs because way back in the day, I played the game Curse of the Azure Bonds, which was one of the gold box D&D computer games. There's a point in the first section of the game where you enter a room where there's a bunch of Otyughs, and if you don't immediately attack them, they talk to you, or they like telepathically communicate with you.
Yeah, because they have a language.
I think so. I don't think they can communicate telepathically, but in this game, that's what they did.
Okay.
And what they did was they, like, when you first enter the room, you notice that there's like some treasure in one of their piles of garbage. And they say, hey, we'll give you this treasure if you go to down the hall. There's another group of us that has a better pile of garbage. Go kill them and then tell us, and we'll take their garbage and you can have this treasure. And so like that was my first introduction to that creature ever. And I don't know, it's a neat little encounter, and
right, yeah,
never seen anything like that in an actual game.
So yeah, it's just like one of the most memorable encounters I have is of just like an Otyugh that got polymorphed into an ogre.
Yeah,
and it's like flailing its arms around wildly because it's used to having tentacles. So it's like, what's going on here,
Yeah. So I don't really have a ton of experience creating my own monsters, so like I'm afraid I don't have a hugely informative answer for this. But as with my approach to a lot of things, my recommendation is try to take something that pre-exists and then use it as a template. You don't have to stick to it really very closely at all. But as long as you have something to go off of, you can, it's easier than just making something from the ground up.
Yeah.
You can get a better grip on what makes it the challenge rating it's supposed to be, how to keep it close to balanced, And I think I've said in the past that if you're not sure how an encounter is going to go, it's better to err on the side of weak, and then you can beef it up as the battle goes on by adding more creatures, or I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there was an ability that you were going to give it, but thought maybe that'd be too powerful.
Sure.
And then once you get into the battle, like the players are kind of mopping the floor with it, and you're like, all right, it sprouts an extra arm that
its big brother comes into the room, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's better to start low and then ramp up to meet the players, rather than, oh crap, I just one-shotted the healer.
Yeah.
He realizes he forgot the oven on.
Yeah.
And then he leaves he remembers his little brother's in the other room, and he has to go fight some adventurers.
Yeah. Or like having something else to come in to save the day, to kind of like steal the thunder.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's a hard keeping monsters balanced and fun is a difficult thing to do. So yeah, I tend to err on the side of easy and then scale it up as need be.
Yeah. And like, hey, if you make it and it's too easy for them, just like have them come across it all the time, and they're like, oh, it's the weird thing again. Like,
oh, he's gnawing on my face again. How cute.
Make a gag out of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like Slimer in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, I don't really have too much more for that question. Try it out and let us know what you think. Let us know what your experiences are. So I guess that'll do it for our regular questions. Let's move on to our social media questions. Last week's question was, what's the weirdest response you've gotten when explaining D&D to someone?
I didn't really have any direct experience with that. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I've had like conversations with my sisters or something, and they would just like make fun of me for being a nerd or something like that.
Yeah.
But
my wife's reaction was nerd.
Yep.
And continues to be that till this day.
Yeah. Just any mention of anything, nerd related, she just.
Right. So we only got a few responses for this, but on Facebook, Sean M says, was working the photo booth for a wedding, mostly letting people have fun and waiting the night out. I'll have a laptop for doing other stuff. This one wedding, I was asked by a bridesmaid what I was doing with the pictures. I showed her I didn't have any by turning the laptop around. When she asked if I was a writer, I said, not exactly. I'm writing a D&D or Pathfinder campaign. I wanted to keep it simple. She seemed oddly intrigued, and we talked about it for a few minutes before people needed my help. I never got to talk to the woman after. I had my work, and she had her duties at the party. From time to time, I wonder if it was a missed connection.
Aww.
Wait, is this essentially also a funeral pyre story?
Oh, no. What?
I don't know. Over on Reddit, Gizmo Trunks, the response that they got was, but why? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. On Twitter, Yodelea Hihu, our recent top tier patron that joined us, says, when I was 13 and doing some D&D prep at the library, a junior girl came up to me and inquired as to what I was doing. When I said D&D, a tabletop RPG, etc., etc., she exclaimed, "Oh, that's like the demon cult stuff, right?" Then things took a turn. So what's that all about?
Uh-oh.
I was stunned. So there you go. There it goes.
Oh, the demon cult. Tell me about that. Exactly. Over on Discord. I gotta like imagine like just like if it was like a movie or a show or something like that, like the kid would be like, oh yeah, I'm totally in a cult, like trying to impress her or something.
I'm part of the resistance.
Yeah.
I'm in the resistance. So, Force Awakens joke for everybody. Over on Discord, the Beverage Tea says, the response is, I don't care. Go play cartoons if you want. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Dad.
Adam B says, so you don't wear capes and play in your mom's basement? I mean, some people do.
Basements are, common.
They're cool when it's hot upstairs.
Yeah.
It's cool downstairs.
When it's a nice warm day outside, you want to be downstairs in the dark, cool basement.
I'm going to be honest, Jeff. I would love to play D&D outside on a nice day.
Like,
I don't think we have ever done that, but that always has felt like the greatest idea.
But it's like outside there's wind and all the papers go everywhere.
There's a good reason, but oh man, that feels like it'd be like starting at like noon.
Right, yeah.
Oh man.
I would like the grill going or something
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Jason says, the response was, that's awesome. Can we pay you $100 a session to run games for us?
Oh, no.
And that's how I got my current job.
Oh, good.
So for him, I don't recall what company it is, but basically like there was a company that wanted to do like team building exercises.
Oh, sure.
And so they got him to run D&D games for them.
Yeah.
So I am, as I've said in the past, I am not a fan of paid DMs. However, if it is a group of people that are looking for someone to do this and they are a business and they are doing it for a business purpose,
right? Yeah, there's
all the power to them.
Yeah, it's not a he wasn't like throwing his like DM weight around going like I can run a thing for you. You want me to run a game for you? Yeah, that'll be $50.
Exactly.
No, it was like it's like, oh, that's a thing you can do. Like he was explaining a thing he does. Someone went like, oh, that's cool. I want to pay you for that. You know?
Stiltskin Kupo 84 says, what video game system do you play on? Okay.
I mean, there's plenty of D&D
That's true. That's true.
video games. So.
Another one that he's actually got a few of these. And they're all from the same person, apparently. How do you play with 5 players if you only have 2 controllers? What's the point of playing with all those people if nobody wins and nobody loses? And hey, I've heard that. I've heard that one before.
Plenty of people lose.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Yeah.
You don't lose the game. But you can lose things.
Yeah.
You can lose stuff.
Lisa always asks when I come home from playing D&D or whatever. She's like, "Did you win?"
Yeah.
And I mean,
if everybody has fun, then yes, you won.
The short answer is yes.
Yeah. Right.
And the last one that Skilson Kupo 84 said is, if it's a game where you can do anything you want, then why wouldn't you dual wield Uzis? Okay.
Uzis, they're like little mini Uzis.
Oh my goodness, that. Okay.
And they
got a new character concept.
They're Uzis. They're little ooze guy monsters, but they spit.
They spit. They have
rapid fire spit.
That's great. Jason the Human says, I generally don't bring it up with people unless I know they'll probably have some understanding of it, much like how I don't bring up my video gaming with most of the general public. My wife's parents were once over and asked, so you really need all of that? Referring to the stack of core books sitting on top of the 5th edition starter set. And I mean, yeah, that's understandable.
Right.
If you are ever in this position, just ask that person what hobbies they do, what they take part in. If they're like, I don't know, they go fishing, I'm sure they've got as much mass worth of fishing equipment.
Right. If somebody's a serious fisher, they have like several poles. And it's like, if you don't understand every little bit of fishing, you're like, why do you need more than one pole?
Exactly.
Like, did all of those other ones break? No. Then
Right.
why do you got them?
Yeah. You don't need all the books, but it helps to have them.
Yeah.
There's a specific thing for each.
Right.
And then Wes Michael says, most frequent response is, I haven't played since high school or college. When do you play? Could I join you for one time? Weirdest response is, that Stranger Things game? The person hadn't heard of it outside of Stranger Things.
Wow.
But then seemed interested. Right. So maybe, or maybe just Midwestern polite.
Sure. Midwestern politeness.
Yeah. I mean, Stranger Things was good for the medium, I would say. My only issue, though, it is not the Demogorgon. It's just Demogorgon. Yeah. Demogorgon is its name.
Right.
It is not like, that'd be like saying you're the Jeff.
Yeah.
You're not the Jeff. You're Jeff.
I'm the Jeff.
You don't say, okay, I'm going to go record with the Jeff today. You say, I'm going to record with Jeff today because Jeff is his name.
I mean, you could call me the Jeff. If you wanted to.
I could call you J-Dog.
Right, J-Dog or J-Dog.
So a couple of days ago, you had a game night at your house, and I was able to make it because I had that day off of work.
Right.
And when somebody was asking my name, I said my name was Gabe, and then I was like, or J-Dog.
Or no, you said G-Dog.
G-Dog, sorry. Why did I said G-Dog.
It's like, and because I heard it, and I kind of like popped my head around the corner. I'm like, oh yeah, he just did that. Yeah.
Now, when I was in high school and it was like the first day and everybody was going around saying their name, I'd always be like, you call me Gabe or G-Dog. Do little finger guns.
Right. That's like one of those gags you do. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to be lame as
because
like a joke.
I am the whitest, most milquetoast person in the world.
Like he's got a glass of milk and a piece of toast.
I'm dunking my toast in the glass of milk right now. That sounds awful.
Yeah.
So anyway,
depending on the milk and the toast,
I guess
if it's like chocolate milk and like French toast.
Oh, okay. Well, French toast isn't toast. When people say toast, they're not talking about French toast. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway.
It's like some like wheat raisin with some like a little cinnamon on it.
Okay. I could see that. Yeah. I got cinnamon milk a few weeks ago. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, if it's anything like drinking the milk after Cinnamon Toast Crunch,
yeah,
I'd drink that.
It's actually just someone ate a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and poured it into a bottle. Anyway, feel free to cut out any or all of that if you want.
Nope.
All right. So that was last week's discussion question. This week's question is, and I had a little trouble wording this, so bear with me. Have you seen any of the official D&D movies or the 80s cartoon? Which was your favorite, and what did you think?
I knew of the cartoon,
mm-hmm.
and then I think we as a group watched one of the live action movies.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one it was. I think it was the one. I don't know what they're called.
It was the first one. I think it was just Dungeons and Dragons, the movie. It deals with like this like dragon scepter.
Did we just find it at Blockbuster or something one time? I think?
Probably.
Yeah, and we were just like, let's watch this.
See, it's weird because I remember when we were either still in high school or just out of high school. I do remember we got together and watched the movie, the first movie, the one that came out in like 2000 or something. And I remember there being a straight to TV second movie.
Okay.
And I remember us getting together to watch it, but I only remember watching the first like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first movie was like very clearly from the second edition age. Everything just very much felt like a second edition type of game.
Sure.
But then in the movie that we watched that was like straight to TV, they started mentioning like, oh, there's a difference between arcane magic and divine magic, which was a strong emphasis in third edition. So it felt like the second movie that we watched was like meant to be during the third edition days. But I don't remember watching the whole thing, and I don't remember why. I don't know why we would have started watching it and not finished it. But I remember nothing beyond the first few minutes.
Well, none of them are good. Like
that's true. And I'll use this as an opportunity to say why I think that is. Because everybody always says like, oh yeah, how hard is it to just make a movie that feels like D&D? And that's that's an adequate response. However, let me tell you why it's hard to make a movie that feels like D&D. Imagine if I said to you, hey Jeff, did you hear Video Game the movie is coming out?
Right.
What are you going to picture that movie is going to be?
Like the actual phrase Video Game the movie.
Yes, Video Game the movie is coming out. What do you picture Video Game the movie would be?
Whatever the heck that Pixels movie was.
Okay.
Where it's just like real. Oh, okay.
I guess, well, my point is D&D isn't a story. D&D isn't even a setting. It is a medium.
Yeah.
You can't say that, oh, it's easy to make D&D because you just have a D&D story. D&D story can be literally anything.
Yeah.
Any story could be done through D&D and be done great. It's not setting because what would you do? Faerun? Maybe. I mean, that's not a bad idea, but
yeah, Faerun's got there's a lot of lore with Faerun.
Sure.
So that'd be probably one of the easier ones.
It'd be easier. Yeah.
There's already a ton of novels in Faerun.
Sure. I mean, so one answer could be, well, okay, I would adapt one of the Faerun novels or something. But not everybody is going to think D&D and think Faerun novels. Some people don't like Faerun.
Sure.
Some people got in with like Eberron or Dark Sun or Spelljammer or something. Right. There's such a huge range of what D&D could be that it isn't a simple, oh, you just make it this. Now, that being said, the things they did make movies out of weren't good representations of any of that. So I'm not saying that gives them a pass, but it's harder than you might think. Because like video games can be about anything, D&D can be about anything.
Yeah.
So you can't make a movie that is Video Game the movie and please everybody who plays video games, because 5 different people are going to have 5 different opinions of what Video Game the movie should be.
Yeah.
Same thing with D&D. Now, why didn't they pick one of those 5 things and go with it? I don't know. But it can be hard to come up with something that is going to please everybody. Something that might feel like just a typical D&D adventure to one person might be completely foreign to somebody else. So, I don't know. They could have done a better job, but I think with what they had, they probably did the best they could.
Yeah, it's really you just got to make like generic fantasy movie with references to D&D.
Yeah, just put in like a Vorpal sword. Have someone cast a fireball.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So like a glowing sword that cuts things really easily. And
don't just wait a minute. Don't just have them bump into a dwarf and now they're in an adventuring party. Don't do that. That's anyway.
It's like this dwarf is going to drop everything he's doing to join you on your adventure. Okay.
Yeah. So I've to answer the question, I've seen the first D&D movie a couple times. I've listened to many podcasts about it because it's one of those like notoriously bad movies, and I like listening to podcasts about bad movies.
Yeah.
Like I said, I remember seeing a little bit of the second D&D movie. However, I could not tell you anything else about it.
Right. Yeah, you shouldn't turn D&D into movies. You need to turn movies into D&D adventures.
Like film reroll.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's the most fun as far as crossing those mediums is like,
Sure.
it's like, oh, this like I really like the movie Willow. What the heck? You could
That's a perfect D&D adventure right there.
Yeah, you could just say that's a D&D movie or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, just slap D&D on an existing fantasy movie and you're golden.
Take a bunch of stickers to Blockbuster. Wait, dang it, we can't do that anymore.
And I've seen a few episodes of the D&D cartoon. Jay's actually going to listen to this. Jay, you got me the DVDs of the D&D cartoon many years ago. I still have yet to actually watch them. I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes. And I still have them though.
Ranger?
I'm still planning on getting to them eventually.
Magic user?
I am Dungeon Master.
Acrobat.
So I don't think it was intentional, but in the actual play Brute Force and Ignorance, they have a unicorn that is like a little NPC in their group named Uni.
Oh.
Because there's a character in the D&D cartoon that is a magical unicorn named Uni.
Oh.
So I don't think it was a direct reference, but it fits.
Sure.
So
I mean, Uni the unicorn.
Yeah. It's an easy coincidence.
Sure.
I guess. Yeah. But they had a thing on their show where somebody asked if that was intentional, and I don't think it was. But anyway, so that'll do it that's our social media question for this week. Have you seen any of the official D&D movies or the 80s cartoon? Which was your favorite, and what do you think? So I imagine there will be a pretty uniform answer to what did you think, but we'll see.
Yeah.
See what everybody says.
Yeah, maybe somebody grew up with the show and just really liked it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that'll do it for our questions. So before we close out, let's wind down a little bit. Let's lay back. Let's take a deep breath. That's some unintentional Foley there. As we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. Today's funeral pyre was submitted on Discord by Ragbund. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Raegbund. Ragbund.
Yeah.
So anyway, submitted by Ragbund on Discord. Got a story for the funeral pyre of my own. Well, this is the story of Care Bertrand Strong, a Goliath barbarian. He's not my character, he is a friend's, but I wanted to share the day he died. After working with his friends and saving the multiverse, Care settled down and created a business named KFC, Care's Fried Chicken. It was a restaurant/blacksmith where he used the extremely high heat of ember fire herbs to cook and smelt. Well, his final experiment with that same herb caused a massive explosion.
Oh no.
Killing him. But this was not the end for Care. He was approached by the Grim Reaper, Shepherd of the Dead. He spoke to Care, stating he wanted to make a deal. See, the Reaper was wanting to take some time off, spend some time with his loved one, a drow mortal, and PC. Whole other story.
Oh, no.
So the deal was that Care would be allowed to live for several hundred more years, but had to take the job Shepherd of the Dead for the time, while Death got to spend some time with his new loved one. So for the next 100 years, the Grim Reaper was a man made of stone and wielding a headsman's axe. Quite the sight for those who cross over to the other side.
Oh, geez.
That's intense right there. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool end for a character of the campaign. So I guess let's raise a glass to Care, who reminds us that KFC always leads to the Grim Reaper. Clink.
That sounds real greasy.
Please, KFC, do not sue us. I don't think we have a big enough audience to affect your sales.
Don't add us, KFC.
Don't add us, KFC. So, fun fact about Kentucky Fried Chicken on Twitter. Have you ever been to their Twitter?
No.
So they have tons of followers. Plenty of people that follow. Tens of thousands, whatever. But they themselves only follow 11 different people on Twitter.
Oh, right.
Do you know what those people are?
Mm-mm.
They are the 5 Spice Girls and 6 men named Herb.
11 herbs and spices.
Yep.
I heard Spice Girls.
I was referencing how KFC is following the Spice Girls and 6 guys named Herb.
People of the podcast, if you want Spice Girls trivia, request Lisa.
Send hashtag Lisa to the InterPartyConflict Twitter.
No comments. If I was editing this episode, I would cut that part out, but
it's not up to you, Gabe.
All right. Okay, well, I think that'll do it for today. Let me actually make sure of that number, that it is 11. So just a quick note. I just checked KFC's Twitter just to make sure that I didn't get that number wrong. The number is correct. However, just a warning. If you're going to go to KFC's Twitter, I just recommend you don't do it at work. Do it in the privacy of your own home.
Apparently, their current campaign, their current like Chippendales themed.
Yeah.
It's a very buff Colonel. He's looking good.
Yeah. Go ahead and enjoy that Twitter, but just do it in the privacy of your own home, I guess, or at least on your own, phone or something.
Dim the lights.
Dim the lights. Light some candles.
Get in a nice hot tub.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is our YouTube channel where we play video games.
Yes. Speaking of video games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories Podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games, courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hackers RPG. So, Jeff, until next time,
keep it spicy.
Yeah.